Yep. Good evening, everyone. So yesterday we discussed how to bind data binding and presenting in the UI we learned, how to access data from APIs and present the data in interface. I showed one example. So we learned only one direction of accessing data and presenting. Now we need to learn how to design interactions. So last session, what we designed here, I'll show you. Actually, in yesterday's design, we created this, right? We created this interface. So yesterday we designed this interface, and in this interface, whatever data you are watching is not directly designed, right? Already you saw that in yesterday's session. I showed you this data is coming from API, some fake store API. So we have to fetch the data and present like this. Different project, different screen environment, different requirements will be there. This design we got from Google Stitch, and according to that we created this, right? So here, what is the main concept is how to fetch the data from API and create a good presentation. Have you tried any one of you these? You are practicing this. If you are not practicing, then it's your problem, right? Because if you are not practicing, this is not a technology that you can just listen and go away. Currently, you remember you may not get a job with Java.NET, but you will get a job with only React in the current generation. If you are good at that, otherwise, take it easy. It's not for you. If you are not practicing, if you are not practicing, so then there is no use. So you need to practice what you learned in the class. So usually you people know mostly Feb and March, we will not have any opportunities in companies. Companies will not take any people. So Feb and March are the periods where you will not get any job opportunities. They will be seized. You will not get calls from any companies also. Right after March, April, May onwards, the companies will take more people, more vacancies. By the time April, you are good with your technologies, then you will be easily placed. because from April up to August, they will take more people. After that, again, they will slow down. Companies, that is the company strategy. Every company will not take anybody during February and March. Jan, Feb, March, these are zero period. That means we don't take any people in companies. We don't want also. That is financial year ends. Na? So by the time the April starts, if you can put your profile good with React JS like technologies with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, as front-end developers, you will get lot of job opportunities, right? So that means by that time you must make sure that you have finished your complete React with perfect practice. You must able to crack interviews because in interviews they will give you design examples. They will give you a task. They will give like this. They will give one screen design and they will say that design it. And for that, whatever data is required, it will come from where APIs. API. You have to practice this. Now we will make this work. So here what we done, we just fetched the data and presented. Now we need to make it work. So when I click search, it should search for the topic we are looking for and show. When I click here, drop down and select, it should show that category. When I click on add to cart, it should add that item into my cart. All these we have to handle. For that, today we are going to see one important concept, that is events. To handle this, you need to know about event handling. So we are going to learn about React event binding. Event binding. How event binding actually works. So to handle this event binding concept in JavaScript, events related some topics you need to be aware. That means what are the JavaScript topics you need to be familiar to handle these events. In JavaScript, you learned events, na? On, click, on, change, like that. Yeah. So here you need to be perfect with those concepts. Here we will learn how events work in React. I'm not going again into JavaScript basic. We will see how events work. For that, what topics of events you need to be familiar in JavaScript. I will give you the list of those topics. Actually, JavaScript event topics, what you need to know for React.js. Generally, when you learn events in JavaScript, you know what is event, what is event handler. So what is event listener? So what are event arguments? So you need to learn custom and default arguments. You need to understand event propagation and event propagation are called event bubbling. So prevent default events and event loop. These are the event related topics. So event profiling. These are event related topics. In JavaScript, when you learn about events, these all topics you must know. Generally, these are all event related topics. So the same things we use in React, but little different. So when you learn JavaScript, you already learned all these points, huh? So event handlers, event listeners, event arguments, event propagation, prevent defaults, event loop, event profiling. Everyone knows all these points, huh? Yeah? No? How many you know? Only one, huh? Two you know, huh? Fine. I will give a simple overview about all these. And after knowing them, we will go into React binding because you can't handle React events if we don't know all these. You should know all these. Let's see a simple overview I will give because to deal with events in React, you should know them. Actually, in JavaScript, events means we teach all this in JavaScript. These are all event related concepts. And if you are not aware, some fast overview I will give for these points. Let's see. Actually, what is event and how event works? All these one by one, we will see that. First, we will start with what is event? How we define events? What is the concept about event? So generally, how we define event is a message sent by sender to its subscriber in order to notify change. It is a message sent by sender event is a message by sent by sender to its subscriber in order to notify change. Event follows a software design pattern called observer. It follows a software design pattern called observer. Event uses event uses a delegate mechanism, so which is function pointer mechanism. Event uses delegate mechanism, which is function pointer mechanism. Which is function pointer mechanism. This is generally you learnt about event in JavaScript. So how we define event in JavaScript? Let's see a small overview here. For example, first I am explaining you the topics and we will see how they are used in our React. Huh? Actually, fine. I am showing in a normal HTML page. Suppose you see we have a button delete On click, we have delete click, and we have a function in the script. We have a function called delete click. Generally, usually what everyone knows here is when delete button is clicked, it is calling which function? Delete click. But it's not that. Actually, it is not calling. That means when you click on delete, usually what people think is we are calling delete click on click. Am I right? But this is not happening. It is not calling, it is pointing towards the function. So event is not calling the function, event is pointing towards the function. It's a function pointer. We technically call it as delegate mechanism. For example, see, let's see the point here. Suppose now I am deleting this function. There is no delete click. Now, when I run this, if you are calling a function which is not there, then obviously it should show error. What error it shows? A reference error saying that by this name I can't find any function. Am I right? Yes. See here now when I run this, and let's open the console, inspect, and when we go to the console, in the console you see here actually there is no error. There is no error. If we are calling a function, so if we are calling a function which is not present, then it should show error. Na? It's not showing error. But see, when I click the button, when we click the button, it will try to point towards the button. Then you will see now it will show error. So event is not calling the function. What is it? It is pointing towards the function. This mechanism is called delegate. So event is a function point. And very important is actually here, suppose you have a function delete click. This function, generally we call this as, this is called as subscriber. This is called subscriber and this is called sender. So a sender and a subscriber. What happens is this sender will send a notification to the subscriber. It will send a notification to the subscriber. Now what subscriber will do is it will perform the functionality. Understood? That means when you click the button, a notification will go to the subscriber and subscriber is going to perform that particular functionality. So that is the definition I given there. That's the definition universally about event. What is it? Event is a message sent by sender to its subscriber in order to notify the change. That means a notification will go and it will perform the functionality. So this is the mechanism. So event is not calling the function. It is pointing towards the function. Understood? Right. So here two important terms you should know. So those two terms are sender and subscriber. Syntactically, function some delete click. This is called subscriber. On click, delete click. This is sender. So subscriber defines the actions to perform. Sender is a trigger. It is a trigger to perform the actions. It is a trigger to perform the actions. What functionality it should do, that is subscriber, what it should do, when it should do, that is send. Sender notifies and subscriber will do. So this is the mechanism of actually event, right? So what is event and how event works? So in software designing, this is called as observer pattern. Generally, we have software design patterns. This comes under a communication pattern. We are not going detail about observer and all these patterns now, but you should know that it is a category of communication. In software designing, actually three categories are there. So any software development involves creating objects, designing classes, and communication. Several standards are followed for creating objects, several standards are followed for designing classes, and several standards are followed for communication. Some related to design of classes, some related to creation of objects. For example, you learned iteration loops, right? Iteration loops are actually software design patterns. You learned constructor, right? That comes under creational pattern. Actually, software design patterns are three types: creational, structural, behavioral. Creational means related to creating objects, structural means related to designing classes, and behavioral means related to communication. This is a big concept at your level, not required until or unless you put some 10-15 years experience in software development. People who put experience like 10-15 years in designing software, like Java developer with 10-15 years experience, for those people they ask knowledge of design pattern. In your career of learning Java, .NET or other technologies, you will learn few patterns, 5-6 patterns you will learn. Like you people may know about singleton, right? What is a singleton pattern? So a singleton pattern means a class can have one instance. That means how you will design a class in such a way that it can have only one instance. This is called design patterns. So that's a big topic. I will just tell you that this event comes under which category? Observer. And observer is a communication technique. How you communicate with the class and objects. That is what event is. And you should know two terms, sender and subscriber. Next, one more is what is event handler. Another is what is event handler. So event and event handler. Observe carefully here. So button, we have a delete button. Which event delete button is having? Which event delete button is having? On click is not event name. Click is event name. This is another point. Click is event name and on is a handler which attaches the event to button. Right? Usually you may think like on click, on change, on blur, these are all events. They are not events, they are all event handlers. That means click is event name, change is event name, key up, key down, mouse up, mouse move. These are event names. On is a handler name. That means in design, while designing, if you want to attach any event to a element, we have to do that by using on. On is a handler. Remember, in the next point I will explain, we can write events without this. That means we can attach events to any element outside the design. That is possible. That generally we call as event listener. We have event handlers and event listeners. In design, if we want any event to be used for element, then we use handler. Actually, in real time projects, in real world projects, we don't use much handlers. We use listeners. Like this, you will not see. That means people writing on click inside button, we will not see that very much. Why we will not see that very much? Because in real world projects, what happens is design and logic we separate. In design, we want only design, and in logic, only logic. Now, actually, in design, you are mixing logic. That means you are writing on click some function name. Later, if I want to modify the design, modify the logic, separation issues will come. That's the reason in real time projects, majority of situation, they don't use handlers. They use what? Listeners. How to write events for a button without writing on click? I will show you. We'll see that. Right? Initially, what is handler is a simple point. So, what you understood, handler means it is used to attach an event to an element in design. Am I right? In design, we can attach any event to element by using a handler. And what is the handler name? On. On is the handler name. So on click is not event. Click is only event. Event, right? First, we will note this point here. So what you need to know about event handler. So event is configured for element in design by using a handler. Event is configured for element in design by using a handler. For example, button on click, some delete click. On is handler and click is event. On is handler and click is event. Mhm. So we have event handlers. Generally, what is drawback of this is the code is loaded with all the design, even if you are not using it. It makes the applications heavy, slow in responding. This is not good for separations also. We need a clean separation of code and design, then this is not good. Now let's see how to add events without this. I will show you. We will go to on click, I am removing. This button have an ID btn delete. Now I want to write an event for this button. Generally, so on load, we have body load. Not only this, usually I will tell you the situation here. Some elements will not be in design. We will not have elements in design. We will dynamically create elements. So I will show that point also. Suppose see, in the body already there is one button called delete. Na? In the body there is a delete button here, and we will write a function. So function body load. So body load. On body load, I am accessing this button document dot get element by ID. What is it? BTN delete. And to this button, we want to add a event. We have a add event listener. Add event listener. By using this, it is asking what is the event name. Event name is click. I told you on is not event name. What is the event name? Click. So click. When it is clicked, what functionality you want. I am using an arrow technique. Na? So I will write here. I want a functionality like document dot write. It should say record deleted. Record deleted. I want this message. And you see here, I click on delete, it will work. Then, and remember, here there is no handler here. There is no handler. Design, just design. This is how real world projects look like. You will not see on click on change in events regularly. That means we dynamically add the events. Not only that, for example, on body load, I want to add one more button into page. How to add a button into page? Where button document dot what create element. I will create a element called button. This button will have a inner HTML called suppose insert, and I will add this button to our body. Document dot query selector. What is it? Body. Body dot append child. Which one? Button. You see, I added a button through code. This insert button is not in design. You see our design. In the design, in the body, you see delete button is there, insert is not there. If insert button is not there in design, how to write event for this? So then how do we write the event for this is we will use button dot what add event listener. Which event you want to write? Click. On click, what functionality it has to do? Document dot write. I will say some inserted. Am I right? And you will see now this button is also working and this button is also working. Events are not written always with event handlers. We write by using event listener. This is what you will see regularly. So here you need to know one more important term. So what is event listener? What is event listener? So event listener is used to configure events for elements dynamically. Event listener is used to configure events for elements dynamically. Event for elements dynamically. Elements added to design dynamically cannot have handlers. Cannot have handlers. They are configured using listeners. They are configured using listeners. So you can add event to element by using add event listener method. So we have a query selector. Suppose we have a button, add event listener, event name, and it uses a function. That function I have written in a shorthand way. Right. So remember, these are all JavaScript topics I am repeating, right? Because if you are not aware about these in JavaScript, then in React it becomes difficult. So I am just recalling these JavaScript topics for people who are not completely aware of them in JavaScript. So in JavaScript, usually everyone learns this. What is event, handlers, listeners, how to write them. Okay. Now one more important here. Example also I will give so that you can try. I will copy this example. Yeah. Just rough example. Huh? Next, another important is, so what are event arguments? Another important, what are event arguments? Event arguments. So actually, arguments, event arguments are used to carry payload. Event arguments are used to carry payload. Actually, in software technologies, payload is the data. Payload is the data carried from one location to another. It is the data carried from one location to another. In software technologies, if data is transported from one place to another, the data is called payload. So data transported from one location to another is payload. So event arguments are used to carry the payload. For example, I will show you one small point here. See, suppose we are having a HTML page with button. So play and pause, and we have a button like stop, like this. We have three buttons, and these three buttons need to perform three different functionalities. Then how many functions will you write? Three. No. Actually, if you write three different functions, carrying data from one function to another is difficult because data is function scope. Na? You need to maintain global variables, through that you need to carry. So with one function, we can manage all three. For example, see here, this button have a name called play. This have a name called pause, and this have a name called stop. Now I will write a script here and we have a function player. Now this button on click, it is using player. That means here all three buttons are using the same function. If all are using the same function, then all will do the same work, na? All will perform same functionality, but we can make them handle different. How is actually when user clicks the pause button, so we can send information about this button to that function. How we can send information about element to the function is by using a this. This is one event argument. Every event have a argument called this. By using this argument, you can send information about current element. Current element is button or image or paragraph or div span, any element. Information about element means what? Currently button is a element. Information about button means button width, button height, button color, button ID, button name, button value. Everything about button you can send to that function. Let's collect it here. We are sending element related details now. We need a formal parameter. We are collecting it and let's try to print. I will show you document dot write. Here I am printing, suppose button name. How to get the button name? We have element dot what name, and you can see that it is going to get the button name. Understood? That means we can carry information about the button. Button name is pause, button name is play, button name is stop. That means information can be carried from our event to the function. And if you want to send information about current element, you can do by using which keyword? This. By using this, we can send. Remember anything about button. Suppose button is having an ID. Am I right? Suppose BTN play. Suppose it is having an ID. BTN pause. It is having an ID. BTN stop. Now, if you want to collect that here, I will print in the next line. What is it? Button ID. How to access element dot ID. And you can see it gets the button name and button ID. Element related information we can send. You may ask like where we use them. I will show you in our practical examples in next level. We will do that. For example, see, I will show you one option like suppose Flipkart. In that suppose mobiles and I am watching some mobile details. Observe carefully, left side we have a preview, thumbnail. Na? When I move the mouse onto thumbnail, that thumbnail is shown here. Am I right? When move the mouse onto the image, its preview is coming right side. This is nothing but when I move mouse onto it, its SRC is sent to this image. We have two images now. Left side image, when I move mouse onto it, its source is sent to this image. Understood? Which we will design. Later we will create this. Now the question is how you send information about image. Image ID, image name, image SRC, image width and height by using which option? Event arguments. We are going to design this. In next level we'll do. But the point is how we can transport information about element. We can transport information about element by using which one? Event argument. So one event argument is this. There is another event argument, event. We have two default arguments. One is this and another one is event. Your wish, you can use only this or only event, or you can use event and this, order doesn't matter. But keywords are fixed. This will send information about whom? This will send information about him. This will send information about the element. Understood? And event will send information about event. Event will send information about event. You may ask, like, what will be information about event? For example, click is an event. Click event have a lot of information, like x-axis where you clicked, y-axis where you clicked, whether you clicked with control key or shift key or alt key. Click is not just click. Click has lot of combinations, right? You have seen so many websites, they say that use alt and click, use control and click. That means you have to press control key and you have to click. And how it knows you are using control key while clicking or not? That means how a software knows you are using a control key while clicking or not. For example, you see this is Visual Studio Code I am using now. In Visual Studio Code, observe, I am typing some https colon double slash www.amazon.in, something like this I typed. And see, when I move the mouse onto this, it is showing a message control plus click. Command plus click means in Windows it is control plus click. That means it is saying that if you press control and click and I will open it. If I directly click it, nothing happening now. If I press control key and click, it will open it. That means how a software knows whether I am using a control key or not while clicking. I'm using a shift key or not while clicking, because you know capital letters will come with caps lock and shift key also, right? That means the combinations are important. For example, you are using a Google map. In Google map, you click at a location, it will put a pin at that location. How it knows exactly where you clicked? That means it is capturing the position of x-axis, y-axis, am I right? All this is done by using event argument. That means through event argument, I will show you here. I'm accessing another parameter. What is it? E. Remember, these are formal names na? Formal names you can give anything. For event, I will use E. Traditionally, I will use E. Okay. Now see what I am doing. In the next line, I want to know clicked clicked at X axis position. And what is the position? How to get x-axis position? E dot, what it is? Client x. E dot client x. And you can see that it is going to get the x-axis position. Horizontally 150 pixel. At 150 pixel I am clicking. Suppose I am clicking the first button. It says 10 pixel. So I clicked in the middle here 102 pixel. Where I am clicking also it knows. Whether I am using control key or not also it knows. Control key, alt key, shift key. If you want to know them, you can put here, suppose shift key. Shift key used or not, I want to show. Then E dot, we have a shift key. And you can see when I click on this, it will show whether shift key is used or not. Shift key is false. And you see here I click now, shift key is true because I hold down shift key and click it. Understood? That means it is showing whether it is using a shift key or not. I am releasing the shift key and I am clicking now, shift is false. I am pressing the shift key and I am clicking and it is saying shift is true. That means we can send information about event, we can send information about element, and all these are done by using event arguments. Event arguments. So these are very important in designing complex things. Arguments play the key role. For example, in our website that we are designing here, observe here, when I click add to cart, what should happen? This item must be added to cart na? How the button knows that I clicked this item? Because the button I created was only one button. Remember, in the design, we created only one button. That button is repeating for every product. Na? then how the button knows which product you clicked? That means when button is clicked, this product data we send to that events. Then we can collect that information and use it. And this is where you will need all these event arguments. Event have two different arguments. What actually here event have event have event has two default arguments. So one is this, another one is event. What is the purpose? This sends information about current element, which includes ID, name, class name, value, src, href, width, height. It depends on which element it is. Another one is event, sends information about current event, which includes client X, client Y, key code, char code, shift key, etc. Two event arguments you can have. Then the function needs to collect one for element, another for event. Element ID, name, value, and all. So event arguments are important. Now, one more point is there. Here we can send default events, we can send custom events, custom arguments also. Default arguments and custom arguments. We can send our own arguments. By default, arguments are two. One is this, another one is event. You can send your own arguments. You can send your own arguments along with default arguments, anything you can send. Suppose you see. That means one more point I will give here. So you can send custom arguments. You can send custom arguments. It can be only custom args or along with default args. You can have both. You can send custom arguments and you can manage. Remember, these are all very regularly, repeatedly used in React like apps. That's the reason if you are not aware of what are event arguments, how they are handled, you can't manage them in React. So that's the reason I'm giving overview about that. We have default arguments, we have custom arguments. We can send our own arguments also. Our own arguments means C. I will copy this example because in this example, I am sending some, in this example, I am sending some default arguments. Na? Let's see custom arguments means how. So for example, you have a button and button name is details and button on click. We have details click. Okay. On details click, I am sending ID. Suppose one, I am sending name. I am sending true. I am sending an array. You can send any type of data, array, object, anything. Now see what we have. We have a script and we have a function. What is it? Details click. On that we need to collect all these parameters. Obviously you learnt in JavaScript how to collect all parameters in one attempt. You can do it using REST parameters. Na? We can use REST parameters and by using that you can access just REST parameter is dot dot dot. What is it? Product. One product is a REST parameter which can collect all arguments or you can individually collect them, right? And I will print here console.log. I will print the product because product is an array type. Because REST parameters are array type. You see now inspect in the console. I will click the details. It will get all the data. That means we can send our custom arguments, our own arguments. We can send our own arguments along with default arguments. If you want default argument also, you know that REST parameter must be last. Right. So here I will put this comma. That means we are sending the first one is default, all others are custom. Right. And you have to collect it here. And we have to collect here element na. And I want to print the element details. Suppose this button have a ID called btn details. I want that ID to print. Then console.log and we have what is it? Element.id. And you can see it is going to get the data and the name of the button. So we can send our own arguments or we can send the default. Only default, only custom arguments, both arguments we can send, right? So this is very important for future. So this is custom arguments. Button have on click. We have, suppose we have, so val1, value 1, value 2, value 3, like this you can have any number of values. How do you collect them? Function details. We can collect parameter 1, parameter 2, parameter 3. Like this we can collect, or there is another technique. So details we can just use dot 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 params. It can collect all of them. Am I right? All these functions related notes I uploaded into the drive group. Check once. People who don't know proper about functions in JavaScript, I uploaded a detailed notes of functions concept that we regularly discuss in our JavaScript classes. I uploaded the notes into drive link. Check once. You can read that notes and you can understand. So about all the functions concept, parameters and all, right? Yeah. I hope you are clear. So here one more point is that I will copy this example. Now one more problem is there here. One more point is here. The key point is event listener. Event listener can have only one argument. Event listener can have only one argument. which refers to event, which refers to event. Event listener can have only one argument, that is event. Handler can have many, but listener can have only one. Now the question is, in that case, then how we can access all the information? That means event handler can have multiple arguments, but event listener can have only one argument. Then how to manage? That means what is the meaning of this is, so you already saw how to add event listener. In event listener, I am adding the event click, and here I am having a function. This function can have only one argument. That function can have only one argument. It cannot have this event or custom. It can have only one argument. Then the question here is, if it is only one argument, then how we can access everything? Actually, what you can do is through E, directly we can access client X, client Y, so shift key and all. These are all event details. Na? If you want element details, E dot target, E dot target ID, name, value, like that. These are all what? Element details. That means with one argument, you can access both. Generally, to access element details, you need this. To access event details, you need event. But in event listener, one argument can access both. But how it will access? All event details are directly present in event, but element details are present in E dot target. By using target, you can access ID, name, class names, and everything. So if you are using handler, there can be multiple arguments. If you are using listener, there can be only one argument. One argument. This is what our React follows. Our React follows this mechanism. So in React, you will not see this and event. In React, you will see E, and that E will give access to both element details as well as event related details. So for example, I will show you here, listener, how it works. Suppose I'm having a button have an ID btn delete, button have a value called delete. Okay. Now for this button, I need to write event. So on load, body load, we will write a event for that button. So function body load, and when body loads, we will collect document get element by ID btn delete. And dot, what is it? Add event listener. What is the event name? Click. And function. And remember, this function can have only one argument E. Only one argument it can have. And through that, we can access all details. Console.log. I will use button ID. How to get the button ID? E dot target dot ID. So suppose I want exposition. How to access exposition? E dot directly client X. That's how we can do. And you can see one argument can access both. A button is not having a name. I will put delete. Huh? And I click the button, it will get both. Acha, here we cannot use BR. I am using log/n. Okay. And you see it will get the both data and show. That means if you are using a event handler, you have how many arguments? Handler have two arguments, default, and others are custom. You can have default arguments, you have custom. If it is listener, you have only one argument. And through that one argument, you can access both. Many times people ask, then how do we pass custom arguments? Directly in the function you can pass, because event listener is a function directly. Na? Into the function you can pass any data and use it, which you will see. So this technique is followed in our React. React always follows the mechanism of what? Event listener. It follows the mechanism of listener. This is example. This is example for that. I hope you are clear, right? Now we have event this related to which one? Arguments. One more point is there, I will explain. So, and that is about what is event propagation. What is event propagation? This is also very important to understand event propagation. So actually, I will tell you the problem in JavaScript which you may not have noticed, because why you don't notice? Because the text in JavaScript you haven't practiced it. eh? So that means you have practiced JavaScript, means what you learned in class, only that, right? What you learned in class, A example Z, you will not change the variable name also. A, exactly A, right? How you practice all the class examples, same name variables. Even you don't dare to change the variable names. In that case, this kind of practice will not improve anything. That means why you haven't faced these problems, because you haven't practiced up to certain extent. So that means many times what people do is, so generally what I pasted in the code, right, in notes, they will copy and paste in their VS Code. And they will come and say that, sir, not working, sir. Do you know, in the notes I upload, some syntax mistakes I upload actually. Yes, really. In APIs, methods, and all the functions, small changes I will do while uploading nodes. I will not upload exactly. Functionality, everything same. Only the URLs and paths and all, I will change them in nodes and I upload them actually. That means any person is coming with a complaint that, sir, I used the same notes what you given, means you copied it. Right? That I regularly do that. I don't paste exactly everything. That means all the logic will be same, path will be changing, because the path that depends on your location of project. And you copy the same thing and try, it will not work. Right? I regularly do that. So you practice manually everything. So this problem regularly comes, you may not have noticed. For example, see, nav is there. This is nav bar. And in the nav bar, we have a button. And this button is search. And see, nav bar have on click. This is nav click. Search button have on click. This is what? Search click. And see, I'm writing two functions here. So we will write a function. This is nav click. And just we will put an alert saying that nav bar clicked. Okay. And we have another function called search click. And we will put an alert saying that search clicked. I will just put an alert search clicked. Okay. Observe here now. For the nav bar, roughly I will give a style border 1 pixel solid black. And I will put some padding 10 pixel or 20. You see now in the design here, we have a nav bar and search. Observe, I click inside nav bar, it says nav bar is clicked. And I click inside the search, it says search is clicked. After that, nav bar is clicked. So this is a regular problem that you will face while writing events. Actually, this problem exists, but you may not have designed anything like this. You may not have designed event for parent and child. That's the reason you will never come across with this problem. But actually, this is a huge problem, because search bar is present in nav bar. Nav bar also have click actions sometimes. When you click nav bar, it is saying nav clicked. But when I click search, search is a child element. When we push the child, parent also feels it. That is the reason what happens when you push the search, navbar also pushed, and you will see, okay, navbar is also working, but we need to stop this. This is what interviewer will ask. That means in interviews, very popular question is how you stop propagation. This is called propagation of events. Propagation of events means a child event may trigger the parent, but child should stop at child. How do we do that? Very simple. Through the child event, we can send an event argument. Understood? And we will collect that event argument E. And event argument have a method called stop propagation. Propagation. That is a JavaScript method. And if I put this method, what will happen? Navbar clicked, navbar is working, and search clicked, search is working. After search, it will stop. This is propagation. How you prevent propagation of events? So by using an event argument called stop propagation. Child events need that option actually. Just a point I will give here. So propagation, what is event propagation? It is a mechanism where the child event may trigger the parent events, may trigger the parent events. Child, child event, child event simulates parent functionality. So you can stop, you can prevent by using event method, stop propagation. By using event method, stop propagation. By using the event method, stop propagation. Generally, we use this for child event. Suppose child event is using an E event argument. Through E, we have to use stop propagation. So this propagation is also known as propagation of events is also known as, it is also known as event bubbling. It is also called event bubbling. Event bubbling is nothing but, why it is called bubble? Because we have a parent bubble and we have a child bubble inside. You know that you cannot touch the child without touching the parent. You try to touch the child, automatically parent also touched. That is why it is also known as bubble, event bubbling. But actually technically it is what? Event propagation. Right. Now few more points are there, we will see tomorrow. Right, in tomorrow session we will finish the event concept in JavaScript and we will see how this works in React. We will see examples in React. Tomorrow we'll continue. Okay.